Be careful what you wish for, because they don't know Jamie like that. And when it comes to Claire, hey guys, it's Marcia and welcome to Really Seriously For Real. Welcome to the breakdown. So first of all, the OG writer and creator, Diana Gabaldon herself, penned this episode. There's a lot of nuance to this episode, just the way everything just kind of unfolded, and it had a chance to breathe. It was a slow build, but it was a necessary slow build, at least for this particular entry into the season. So we're going to dive into this review in just a bit, but before we get too deep, why don't you go ahead and hit the subscribe button and make sure you click the bell so you're always notified when I upload a video. Let's start with Ulysses. They did show us where Ulysses is and where he's going, and gave us a little backstory that I know that the book readers already had. Now we get a little history as show watchers, really the kind of relationship that Ulysses had with Jocasta, at least in the show, you know, what they're gonna show us. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Ulysses came in and saved the day. He saved her life, but in order to save her life, he took Forbes. And when she was laying on the couch, unconscious, he's calling for her, mistress, mistress, and she doesn't answer. And then he says, Jocasta, and she opens her eyes. He takes her hand, kisses her. Like, it's very clear. Well, it was clear from before. I mean, let's face it, folks, okay? It was clear from before. I know that there is a whole thing in the books with them, but even on the show, it's obvious their relationship goes beyond being just a servant and a master, right? And then we find out that he's actually a free man. She set him free years ago. But because of his dedication to her and friendship and love, he decided to stay instead of going off and living the free life. He is on the run, so he's living in the he's living in the Fraser's halfway house. Lord John is going to take him back to England. Who better? You know, he is the resident save the day man, right? Speaking of Lord John, he comes for a visit. Americans and everything getting a little too crazy over here. So he's like, it's time for me to go. Sometimes you just feel like previous episodes needed time to have the characters have some time with each other. Like, it's okay to sit down with a drink and just catch up with stuff. He gives Jamie an updated painting of Willie. So, you know, it was just such a prideful moment for literally everyone involved. Lord John, because he knows that he's raising his son and he's proud of him as his son. Jamie is proud knowing that this is his son. You know, even for the fact that he can't acknowledge him, it's just still like a beautiful thing for him. Jamie gives that portrait to Brianna later on. And, you know, it's funny because it didn't occur to me until then that she didn't know about William and didn't know that that was his son. Like, you know, even she says, she's like, oh, wait a minute. So you're telling me the son that Lord John is always talking about, that's my brother? Like, I'm telling you, I was getting like such the feels. You know, you just love when you know something and then finally someone is able to connect the dots and you're just like, I know, girl, right? It just felt so good that she knew, and like she was just beaming at the thought that she has a brother. I'm gonna get a little deeper into this, but that'll be later. Speaking of family, Ian was playing with Jimmy, and so they were playing with the stone. And then all of a sudden Jimmy is just like, back that thing up, it's hot. The kid, I mean, the kid was really good. And then all of a sudden it breaks. So now, you know, everyone is kind of looking like, okay, wait a minute, hold on. The stone is hot, but only a select few think that it's hot. Only a select few are now hearing the buzzing. And everyone is like, how is it so hot that it broke the stone? So now there are pretty interesting takeaways from this. Number one, obviously, everyone is openly discussing this in front of Ian. So I'm like, okay, well, y'all gonna have to tell this boy because you know he's gonna ask. Cut to later when he does ask, but we'll get to that in a second. The rest of them have all touched this stone. And first of all, it never got hot to them. It never did anything to them. And so now it's just an interesting thing, like, maybe it's because both of the parents are travelers. Is that possible? Because now if that's the case, then that means Jimmy is actually Roger's son. They're basically like, well, if Jimmy is hearing the buzzing and all this other stuff, then that means that he can travel. So we're going home. And like, it's like happening very quickly. Wasn't that funny? Ian, he's just like, are we gonna talk about this? And Claire, she's like, well, you know, I'm from the future. He's like, I knew you were a fairy. I love that boy. Obviously, you know, a few episodes, there was some deep stuff that Ian was going through that has just kind of been shifted to allow for, you know, some other story. But I don't know about y'all, but the whole time I'm just like, are we gonna get back to Ian? Because I'm nosy. I need to know what happened with him, okay? And we're getting those little sprinklings in there. And he's like, well, I want to travel too, you know, take me along. Like, how can I do this? Because, you know, obviously he wants to use this in order to help reverse or, you know, whatever happened to his wife, to his family. So that we don't know about. Book readers, say nothing. No spoilers. I want to totally be surprised. Okay, so the Browns, they come for a visit. So we'll call them the Intensity Brown, that's the older guy, and Grouchy Brown. Okay, you already know who I'm talking about. And they bring like this whole big brigade, right? And so Intensity Brown is like, listen, there's some nonsense going on. People are burning homes. Have you noticed anything? And then Jamie's like, you know what? As a matter of fact, we did come across a home where the home was burnt. The people inside were also expired. Well, you know, Intensity Brown, he's just like, look, we would like it if you and some men can join us. We just basically, we created a police force and we're gonna police the area. We're gonna be the new sheriff in town. Jamie, he's just like, no, that's okay. You know, I already had my time. I fought in so many wars. I'm done. I just want to like live. So Intensity Brown kindly reminded him how he joined up when Jamie came a-calling for Tryon's war. You are correct. However, at least Jamie was offering up some money, and there seemed, you know, there was like a kind of like an understood end date. Okay. And Jamie brings that up. Like, there's a difference between a war and a police force. Grouchy Brown, he goes in to see Claire so that way he can get patched up. And so, you know, Claire, she's doing her doctor thing, and then Grouchy Brown, he's like, well, look, I know what you think of me. I'm really not a bad guy, but like, what would you expect? Don't you think a father is gonna do anything that he can to protect his daughter or to basically avenge his daughter? I'm just gonna leave this to marinate for you. Okay. Claire knows exactly what he's talking about. And so, you know, I mean, like, that was a nice little entry in there because, yeah, you know, a lot of people, or Claire, whoever, you can feel that, oh, you know, what Grouchy Brown did was wrong. Yeah, how he went about it is wrong. Absolutely. And does he need anger management classes? Absolutely. However, the shoe has been on the other foot many a time. Grouchy Brown, he returns at a later date, you know, however much time has passed. And he brings his wife. His wife has a broken wrist. Obviously, he's been roughing her up a little bit. That's a topic for a whole other discussion that I'm not willing to go into. Grouchy Brown sees a nameplate. The doctor that Claire posed as when she had put all that stuff well, she didn't put the stuff in the newspaper, but when all that stuff ended up in the newspaper. So he sees the nameplate for this doctor that's causing all these problems with their medical advice. And he abruptly takes his wife up out of there. Brianna and Roger, they're saying their goodbyes. It's time for them to go. Or it's certainly leading up to that time. Probably one of the most beautiful moments in there, there's two for me. One of the most beautiful moments, okay, there's three, is one, when Marcelly is just like, you're like a sister to me. Okay, anyone else getting some Claire and Jenny vibes right there? And then that moment where just nothing is said, it's just that look between Claire and Brianna where they just kind of embrace. It was almost like when Brianna came back to the future, no, back to the past, and saw her mom for the first time after meeting her dad for the first time. And the other beautiful moment, of course, is when Brianna had that time with her father when they were talking about her new brother. Now, the whole basis of this episode, Journey Cake. When Claire went back to find Jamie back in time, Brianna had made her a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Obviously, we also know that Brianna also made herself peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But in any case, they took that with them on their travels. So Claire, she made some journey cake, and that's what they used as their appetizer before their final meal together as a full-on family. And that was funny. I mean, honestly, the only thing I was doing during that whole scene was just smiling, because it was just really sweet to see all of them together and knowing that that's going to be the last time that they're going to be together. Well, I don't know. I don't know. No spoilers. It was cute to see Jamie. He's cutting it with a knife and fork. That was adorable. Roger, he has a little discussion with Ian as well. Watch the land for me. You can have it. But watch the land for me. And also too, would you mind accompanying us to the stones? You know, you can help us bring back the carts, etc. So he does. And you know, they tie themselves up just to make sure they all stay together. Each of them got their stones. They touch the stone at the same time. And then boom, they're gone. And that was really cool. Like literally, Ian was looking at them at the stones, and then boom, they were gone. Like, could you imagine that? Anywho, he goes up to the stone and he just kind of puts his hands on the stone. This is not working for me. I want to go too. We'll come back to this. On the other side, however, it doesn't seem like the destination that they wanted is the destination that they got. Maybe, perhaps. But again, we'll come back to this. So Grumpy Brown and crew, they come back to the ridge and they kidnap Claire. They knock out Marcelly. And this all happens after they distract the men with an explosion at the distillery. So there's only one thing left to do, and that's like the cross. Let's talk about theories, okay? First of all, the obvious, Jamie, he's about to open up a can of whoops on the Browns. They wanted him to send men. Well, they got it. That's all, you know. Yeah, they got it. So I don't know. I guess it's kind of like, be careful what you wish for, because they don't know Jamie like that. And when it comes to Claire, let's talk theories. You guys can laugh at my theories all you want. Like, oh, how cute, you know, you non-book reader. I know. But I don't want to know. I want to be totally surprised in, you know, the next episode or whenever we figure this out. But me and Francois, we've been talking about this ever since this episode aired. And we're like, where the heck could Brianna and Roger be? Where the heck, when the heck, whatever. My thought, actually it's like a combined thought, but I remember when Claire had her fight with Gallus, and she was at the pool, and there was the, you know, the portal was in the pool, and after she killed Gallus, it was kind of like pulling her, it was calling to her, you know, to kind of go through. One of the things that Claire felt is that you need like a bond. You need something that's going to be pulling you to the other side, whatever time that is. When Claire was in present day, it was Jamie. The love for Jamie was on the other side, and so she was able to travel. When she was standing at the portal, the only other person that was on the other side in that time that has a bond to her and a love bond to her is her daughter Brianna. She was on the other side, right? Galis, when she went back in time, she left in the 60s. And when she got there, I'm like, my brain is just mush. Okay, so Galis, she left in the 60s, and then she ended up in, back in time earlier than Claire. But Claire, because Jamie was at a fixed point when she went back in the 60s, she went back during the time that, it's the 200-year difference, okay? So she was just kind of moving in line because Jamie was at that point. Now, all of this to say, Roger and Brianna, they've made it very clear during this whole time that they have no one. They didn't know their grandparents. They don't have any, their parents are here. The only sibling that Brianna knows of or has is here. I'm saying here, but in this time with Claire and Jamie. The bond that she has with Marcelly, you're like a sister to me. All these people that Brianna was taking this time to say goodbye to, this was her family, this was her love, this was her bond. Roger, he has no one. I mean, like, what are we gonna say, Fiona? No matter how much they wanted to think it and click their heels 3 times, it was not going to happen. So, this means that there is another very strong and intense bond that is pulling them somewhere else. Now, I think it's Ian. Okay, well, actually, I can't take all credit for it because Francois had said it first, but we think it's Ian because we haven't learned what the heck happened to Ian. And he just, they kept talking about it, and he kept wanting to be able to travel, and everyone was just like, no, you can't. It's impossible. There's no way. Well, Ian was the only one that was with them at the Stones. It's probably like the last thing that they were thinking about was the fact that he was there. He touched the Stones. Maybe it was like through some cosmic connection, he redirected them to a time, maybe before something happened to his family, or maybe during, or something. I don't know. I mean, this is what I'm saying. I think that instead of traveling back to the 60s or 70s, whatever time that we're up to now, they probably were redirected because of Ian. And now they're going to be able to help Ian, like, save his family. Maybe. I don't know. But again, don't spoil it for me. I don't even want to know. Everyone, put your theories out there. But honestly, if you do, if you have an intense need to spoil it, please put big and bold spoiler. Okay. All right. So thank you so very much for watching. Until next time. Bye.